We will go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Your Honors, good afternoon. This is
Good
a
afternoon.
presentation of the public panel interview by the Judicial and Bar Council of candidates for the Legal Education Board Chairperson, for the regular member representing the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, and for the regular member representing the law students sector. Your Honors, the candidates for interview this afternoon are the following: Mr. Jerome Joker M. De La Cruz and Mr. William Christian P. De La Cruz. Your Honors, both are applying for the position of regular member representing the law students sector. May I request the candidates to please raise your right hand so that I can administer the oath? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this public panel interview by the Judicial and Bar Council?
I do.
Yes, I do.
So help you God.
So
Thank
help
you.
me God.
Help me.
Your Honors, the first candidate for interview will be Mr. Jerome Joker M. De La Cruz. And the first to interview the candidate will be the Honorable Judge Franklin J. De Monteverde. Judge De Monteverde, sir.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Ed.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. De La Cruz.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Okay, how would you prefer to be called? Joker or Jerome?
Yes, sir. I am known in law school as Joker.
A Joker, not Batman, huh?
No, sir.
Sige, you're 30 years old
Yes, sir.
and you are now the project manager of the Legal Engagement Advocating Development and Reform Incorporated.
No, sir. Your Honor, that was last year. Right now,
Last
I am
year.
a full-time law student, Your Honor.
Full-time law student.
Yes.
And in what year are you now in law?
I am now, Your Honor, in my senior year. In the
When you say senior year, you are graduating. You will be
Yes.
graduating this year.
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
Your
What
Honor,
month?
I believe the school year is scheduled to end in July.
July. Okay, so you merely have how many months from now? 5 months or 6 months?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you aware that one cannot be appointed if he is not a student?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you may be disqualified later on because by August you will no longer be a student, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, your chances to be chosen as the representative of the law student sector is that nil already. No, so just pray. Now you will still be a student when the appointments come out.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You are staying at UP.
Yes, sir.
And the previous interviewer this morning is also studying UP. Probably he's your classmate.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Bautista is my classmate.
Okay. Now, how do you know, or how does the Honorable Reynato Espuno know you, the former Chief Justice?
Your Honor, Chief Justice Puno and I met when I was working at the Development Academy of the Philippines because
Okay.
the former Chief Justice was awarded or became an eminent fellow of the Academy, and I was working with the Office of the President of the Academy. I helped organize some of the events where the former Chief Justice delivered speeches.
So he knows you that well.
I wouldn't say, Your Honor, that we know each other very well. But when I decided to apply for the position, I introduced myself and gave him my credentials, and thankfully he decided to nominate me for the position.
So you asked for his nomination.
Yes, Your Honor. I
He
request,
didn't. He didn't do it spontaneously and voluntarily.
not spontaneously, Your Honor.
Okay. Very good. Now, although this was already dismissed, there was a case filed against you. No? What was that case filed about? It was filed by PS Bank against you.
Yes, Your Honor. It was about a car loan
Uh-huh.
a few years ago. So there were arrears in the monthly payments because someone else took the obligation to pay for it, and the monthly payments were not paid. So the bank decided to foreclose. So they filed for rep levin. When I learned about it, I quickly arranged for a meeting with the representatives of the bank, and I turned over the car, causing the dismissal of the case.
When was that?
Uh, Maybe in 2018, Your Honor.
Only recently, huh?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You mentioned in your intent letter that you were exposed to law schools based in different jurisdictions, and that this will be useful to the LEB should you ever be appointed. What is this exposure that you are talking about?
Yes, Your Honor. In 2019, I was one of the students selected by the college to go to attend the exchange program with the Renmin University of China in Beijing. And the year before that, I participated in the ASEAN Legal Camp in Chulalongkorn University, Faculty of Law in Thailand, in Bangkok, Thailand. There in those activities, Your Honor, was able to observe their style of legal education. For example, Your Honor, the main key difference is that in those jurisdictions, uh, the basic legal curriculum or degree is not a postgraduate degree. Uh, they are allowed to enroll in Bachelor of Laws directly from high school. And for example, Your Honor, in Thailand, uh, not everyone is required to take the bar exam. Only those who would like to serve in the government or become a prosecutor, etc. And another difference, Your Honor, is they don't follow the case method or the Socratic method in those jurisdictions, which I think not that we need to copy those practices, but I think maybe we can study their practices to somehow tweak our system so that we don't need to employ purely Socratic methods in our classrooms, Your Honor. And I would like to add, Your Honor, that in China, one of their Master of Laws program is mainly offered to those who did not take Bachelor of Laws for their undergrad, but who would like to be a lawyer.
How is that?
Uh,
They didn't pass the bar and yet they were allowed to take the masters.
the Master of Laws program, Your Honor, as I have observed in China, is offered to non-law bachelor graduates who would like to become a lawyer later on. So that
Directly.
yes, Your Honor. So they could use that master's degree to apply to become part of the legal profession. And one of my key takes from that experience, Your Honor, is that they have uh, they have the ability to encourage several students to pursue advanced degrees in law. Maybe we can learn from their practice so that we can encourage more lawyers to pursue advanced degrees in laws as well in our country.
Okay. Now, the Supreme Court in 2019 ruled on the constitutionality of the PhilSat in Pimentel versus Leb and Abayata versus Medialdia and Leb. How did the court decide on it?
Yes, Your Honor. The Supreme Court said the Supreme Court reaffirmed the power and the function of the Legal Education Board to prescribe the minimum standards for law school admission. And that includes the power to administer a national law school admission test. However, the Supreme Court said that if the LEB requires the admission test as a pass or fail criterion for law school admission, that would violate the right to academic freedom of law schools. Therefore, while the LEB may administer the PhilSat, it
Go
may
ahead.
not
Go ahead.
require. Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor. It may not require law schools to take it as a pass or fail criterion for admission.
Now, in that same case, how was the National Medical Admission Test differentiated from the PhilSat,
Yes, Your Honor.
yung admission?
The
What's
NMAT
the difference
was
between the two?
differentiated from LSAT in such a way that NMAT is not a requirement passing the NMAT is not really a requirement for admission to medical schools. Medical schools has the option to consider the NMAT results as one of the criterion in their admission process, and the NMAT results can be given the weight or percentage that medical schools can deem sufficient for their process. But in LSAT, the LEB in that time required a 55% passing rate to be admitted.
Now, Mr. Joker, one of the powers of the board is to adopt a system of continuing legal education. This conflicts with the mandatory continuing legal education. In your opinion, is this correct? Can the LEB adopt a system for continuing legal education?
In my opinion, Your Honor, the LEB cannot prescribe or require mandatory continuing legal education. The power to regulate the legal profession and the integrated bar, as provided in the Constitution, is within the province of the Supreme Court only, and not within the executive or the legislative. And the Supreme Court in Pimentel versus LEB has struck down this clause under the Legal Education Reform Act as unconstitutional.
Okay. Now, Republic Act 7662 is known as the Legal Education Reform Act. Now, should you ever be appointed as a member representing the law student sector, what reforms will you introduce that will be beneficial to law students in order to achieve the objectives of the Legal Education Board?
Yes, Your Honor. I mentioned 6 reforms in my
Okay, go ahead.
the written examination. Your Honor, if I may refer to my answers.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The first reform, Your Honor, is the creation of multimedia learning modules, starting with the most basic courses that law schools can use as a standard model or integrate in their curriculum. Your Honor, I thought of this reform because I am wondering what is it that top law schools have that other law schools don't have? Is there anything that top law schools teach that other law schools do not teach? So maybe by introducing a multimedia learning modules that law schools can use as a standard or model, or they can integrate in their curriculum, this problem could be solved. A second reform, Your Honor, is to maximize and mainstream the use of technology for the employment of different teaching strategies, including the said multimedia modules and blended learning. Third is to provide a venue for the sharing and learning of best practices in legal education employed by the top domestic and foreign law schools as well. Fourth, Your Honor, is to start preparing students for both domestic and international practice in view of ASEAN integration. And fifth, encourage more lawyers to pursue advanced law degrees by working with law schools in designing and offering Master of Laws programs with flexible schedule and engaging course content. Sixth, closely monitor law schools that have below average bar performance and formulate regulations based on the results of such monitoring. And Your Honor, I would like to add a seventh reform, which I was not able to write during the exams, which is
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to study the feasibility of having a scholarship program for law students who would like to serve the poor in their provinces. This would be something like uh, somehow similar to the doctor to the barriers program in medical profession, but this time for the legal profession, Your Honor.
That would be in line one of the objectives of the uh, Legal Education Reform Act, isn't it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, as a student of law, what do you think are the areas that still need to be covered by the law curriculum in the country, if any?
I think, Your Honor, the law curriculum, as it is designed today by the Legal Education Board, is really comprehensive. But I would like to put emphasis in in arbitration, conciliation, and mediation, Your Honor, because as a student of law and many lawyers have observed, one of the key problems in our judicial and legal system is really the case backlogs, Your Honor. And I would really like to mainstream the use of alternative dispute settlements as provided in the Code of Professional Responsibility for the Legal Profession, Your Honor. Lawyers are allowed to mediate, conciliate, and become arbiters for disputes. And maybe if we put emphasis to this rule in the code, maybe we can somehow help in the long term the backlog in cases in the courts.
Now, let's go to how about this coronavirus? Has the pandemic affected the study of law in the country? Has
Yes,
it?
yes, Your Honor. Very much so, Your Honor. Uh, for example, in the University of the Philippines College of Law, we encountered several problems in electronic devices, in administering the exams and the quizzes, Your Honor. Uh, Last semester, Your Honor, we conducted a donation drive to collect and distribute electronic devices for students in need so that they can participate effectively in the remote learning setup. But even though they have electronic devices, Your Honor, connectivity issues, which are issues of infrastructure, are very difficult to address, especially, Your Honor, in the study of law. Face-to-face classroom instruction is very important, unlike in other fields.
So, would you say then that online learning suitable for legal education?
Purely online learning, Your Honor, is not suitable to legal education. However, learning we can this brings us an opportunity to explore blended learning, a combination of both online and offline learning in the long run, Your Honor. Online learning by providing asynchronous instructions and materials that students can access anytime, together with synchronous assessment activities.
So, would you advocate for that for that kind of online legal education then?
Yes, Your Honor. I would advocate for the maximization and mainstreaming of the use of technology in legal education.
Joker, what is your philosophy of legal education?
Your Honor, in legal education, as well as in education in general, I believe that there should be a balance among the different stages of learning. These stages are knowledge, comprehension, and analysis. I believe that knowledge is the provides the foundation for comprehension, and comprehension provides the foundation for analysis. Uh, we cannot just focus on knowledge because a student who has that who has the knowledge of hundreds of thousands of rules but don't really understand or cannot apply the rules is means nothing, Your Honor. On the other hand, a lawyer who focuses on his skills without the knowledge of law and jurisprudence could result in pure showmanship or empty words that may be detrimental to their clients.
So there must be a blending of the three, as you
Yes,
say.
Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Without one from the other, from the three, it will be useless.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, what pedagogic methodology of teaching law will you espouse? The Socratic method or the case method?
The the case method, Your Honor. But I would like to put emphasis
Why?
in the codal provisions, Your Honor, because this also proceeds on from my style of studying. I always first read the law, the text of the law itself before proceeding to the cases.
Mhm. How can the
Because
case study help the students?
the case study, Your Honor, and the case method helps students to have the analytical skills necessary for lawyers because they will understand how the Supreme Court analyzes and appreciates facts and the law applicable to the facts and how the law is applied to said facts.
What
Mainly,
about the Socratic method?
the Socratic method, Your Honor, uh, also contributes in the analytical skills, Your Honor, but uh, it mainly it it mainly allows the student to come up with the answers independently. The Socratic method puts emphasis to the fact that learning the law is essentially an in, is essentially learning by your own, and the professors are there merely to guide you, to provide guidance, to provide the specific materials that you need to study. But when you are in the classroom, a law student should not expect that the professor would spoon feed the information to them. So in case method,
As
analytical skills, Your Honor, but in Socratic method, independence in learning.
okay. Now, as a policy for the legal education, would you encourage outcome-based education?
Yes, Your Honor, I would encourage you that, Your Honor. Uh,
Why? Give your reasons.
because, Your Honor, I have observed that the reform introduced by the Dean of the University of the Philippines College of Law in this regard is very good. Uh, the curriculum design starts with the listing down of the outcomes desired for a law student. And from these outcomes, the the content of the course and the activities to be administered or to be conducted are based on these outcomes. Uh, this would this would avoid legal education becoming solely an academic exercise because it would be based on the outcomes or the skills and knowledge that a law student must have at the end of the course or at the end of their stay in law school.
Okay, Joker, what is meant by academic freedom and what are its parameters?
Yes, Your Honor. Academic freedom uh, means the right of a higher educational institution to exercise freedom in four aspects: the who to teach, to choose who to teach or to admit; second, to choose or to determine what to teach; third, how to teach; and fourth, who can teach the students, Your Honor. This academic freedom is provided in the Constitution, is guaranteed to educational institutions, Your Honor. This freedom is infringed upon when the government, uh, instead of merely supervising and regulating law schools, for instance, impose regulations that control the educational institutions instead of merely supervising. As in the case of Pimentel versus LEB, Your Honor, the court said that while the LEB can prescribe the minimum standards for law school admission, by imposing the PhilSat as a pass or fail criterion, it is already controlling admission and no longer just regulating or supervising admission. Another instance is when it comes to the requirement of a Master of Laws degree for faculty members, Your Honor. The court said, while it appreciates the the concern of the education board for the qualifications of the law school faculty, requiring a specific percentage of the faculty members to attain master's degree in an unreasonable period given the logistical and other limitations of law schools is already unreasonable.
So, what are its parameters?
The parameters, Your Honor, is reasonableness, and it must be only for supervision and regulation. There must be no control.
Control. What about this, the rally that is being staged by the UP students in connection with the abrogation of the DND UP
Yes,
agreement?
sir.
In your personal opinion, what can you say about that? Are the students right in rallying Makibaka, or are they?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe that the UPDND Accord helps in ensuring that the faculty and the students of the University of the Philippines have the academic freedom they need in order to produce and entertain thoughts and solutions that are maybe not mainstream in the society, Your Honor. And in this free in the free debates that occur within the campus, they, these debates are actually beneficial to the country because they produce the best results, the best ideas that law graduates can employ when they are already serving the country. There's also the issue of the propriety of unilateral termination of the agreement, Your Honor.
But
Which
going out of the streets and rallying, is that the kind of academic freedom that is within the parameters of academic freedom?
going to rally, Your Honor, uh, it's a mix. It's a mix of the right to speech and academic freedom. Uh, there is also the element of academic freedom is in the content of those said in those rallies, Your Honor.
That's correct. Looking at the placards that are being shown, are they not offensive, or it is still under what we call academic freedom?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe they are within academic freedom. Not, I don't think there are offensive calls in the placards that I have seen, Your Honor.
How about burning effigies?
Burning effigies. I have not encountered burning effigies within the campus, Your Honor. I believe they're within the
Within
outside.
the campus, but many of them go out of the campus and join rallies.
Yes, Your Honor. I think that is outside the scope of academic freedom. But
Are you sure of that?
yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. That may be within the scope of the freedom of speech.
Okay, Joker, that was my last question. Okay, good luck
Thank you,
and
Your
stay
Honor.
safe.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Honorable Judge Franklin J. D. Monteverde. The next JBC member to interview the applicant would be Honorable Justice Noel Jimenez Diaz.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Queenie. Good afternoon, Mr. De La Cruz.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Um, do you know the historical background of the why the UPDND agreement was entered into? Do you have any idea what event precipitated the conclusion of that agreement between initially it was an agreement in 1981 between a student leader Soto and DND Secretary Enrile, followed in 1989 by the Abueva Ramos, Secretary Ramos of then DND. Do you know the historical antecedents?
Not fully, Your Honor, but I believe this proceeded from an arrest of student leaders within the campus, Your Honor.
It related to the arrest of Mr. Continente. I think he was a staff of the Philippine Collegian in relation to the assassination of a U.S. officer in Jusmag in Quezon City. And he was detained and he alleged to have been tortured by the military and the police. And by the way, he was convicted. So that is the historical antecedent. The accord was not entered into because of academic freedom. It was because of that incident. Uh, the UP and the DND
Uh, Your Honor.
legitimate dissent. That is the historical background for that. Anyway, uh, you have been asked repeatedly about academic freedom. Can you give me an example? The Constitution says academic freedom is accorded to institutions of higher learning. What do you understand by institutions of higher learning?
I understand, Your Honor, that higher education institutions include universities and colleges offering degree programs equivalent to bachelor's degree, master's degree, and doctor's degree. And does
Which
not
do
include
not fall within the ambit of institution of higher learnings do not enjoy academic freedom.
no, Your Honor.
So they do not enjoy academic freedom. Now, can you give me an example of academic freedom by an institution a specific example.
Specific example, Your Honor. When I was pursuing my undergraduate degree, my kasaysayan professor was given the leeway to design his own curriculum. So in kasaysayan 1 was about Philippine history, and our professor chose to focus on the contributions of women in Philippine history. That is an example, your specific example of academic freedom, Your Honor.
Justice Tiham?
Attorney, can you hear me?
Nawala. Si Justice Tiham
I
yata.
think
Na-disconnect po si Justice Tiham.
Si Justice Tiham.
Judge Ilaw, are you online na po ba? Or Justice Mendoza? Ayun,
Yes,
Judge Ilaw.
Yes,
Judge Ilaw.
I'm here.
Ah,
Baka
Judge,
makabalik naman si Justice Tiham.
Can you wait for Justice Tiham for such continuity of his
yung,
thoughts also?
okay po, Judge.
yung ano ba, yung sa, yan na si Justice. Yan na si Justice Tiham.
Karon.
Justice Tiham?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes po.
Okay. Jerome, what the example you gave me is academic freedom of the law professor. I was asking you about academic freedom of the school.
Yes, Your Honor. In the example I gave, the school did not prescribe specific course content for some courses, Your Honor.
Does academic freedom include the freedom by law professors to teach students incorrectly?
No, Your Honor. The academic freedom does not include law professors teaching incorrect lessons to students. Perhaps they can teach law students what they believe is correct.
Is correct. Okay.
But not is incorrect, Your Honor.
All right. In law school, professors evaluate and grade students. Should students grade and evaluate professors too at the end of a grading period?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe so, because that practice allows improvement also on the side of the professors, Your Honor.
Is it being done by law schools?
I am not sure in other law schools, Your Honor, but in UP it is being done.
It is being done.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And if the professor fails in the evaluation by the students, what happens? The professor will flunk all of the students.
Your Honor, I believe the results of the student evaluation of teachers are given to the professors after the grades are submitted.
All right. Now, how will you address absenteeism of law professors? That's a very common problem, correct? In law
Yes,
school.
sir. Yes, sir. It is a very common problem. And I believe, Your Honor, attendance to class should be one of the minimum qualifications for law professors to continue teaching in law schools, Your Honor. However, this should be subject to reasonable standards, Your Honor, because, for example, right now during the pandemic, attendance to classes by professors and students alike cannot be ensured that strictly right now.
All right. My last question, because there's still another applicant. we will interview this afternoon,
Yes, sir.
should law school put more emphasis on the education and production of ethical lawyers rather than competent lawyers? Do not answer by saying both. In your opinion, should emphasis be on ethical lawyers or competent lawyers?
Your Honor, I think emphasis should be on competent lawyers.
Why?
Because,
So does it follow that if a lawyer is competent, he is necessarily ethical?
no, Your Honor, but I believe, Your Honor, that producing competent lawyers to the point that there are many competent lawyers, clients of lawyers would have the choice to go to ethical lawyers who are also competent. First, we must produce competent lawyers. And when there are several competent lawyers, then the ethics of the lawyers can be addressed by the choice of the client, Your Honor.
Now, my last question is, in your study,
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Attorney Michelle, I think we're having technical difficulties.
Justice Tiham?
Hmm.
Judge Ilaw, should we wait for Justice Tiham to reconnect?
Inaantay pa ni Judge.
And Justice Tiam might be reloading, weaponized. Maybe remaining 2 or 3 questions for Justice Tiam. Can we just still wait?
Judge Ilaw, excuse po.
Yeah.
According to Justice Tiam, done na daw po siya. You may
Done
proceed
na.
na daw po. Opo.
Who's done? Danilo?
Justice Tiam.
Joke. All right, thank you.
Okay
But,
po.
Thank you, Attorney Jinky.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Attorney Jinky. So that was the Honorable Justice Noel Jimenez.
Sorry.
Now,
Yes,
for our next
Good.
interviewer, we have the Honorable Judge Toribio E. Ilaw Jr.
Okay, thank you. Tony Queenie. Yes,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
yes, good afternoon. Nice name, Joker.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Remember Joker Arroyo also came from Bicol? You're a
Yes,
native
sir.
of Bicol?
Yes, Your Honor. I was named after him by my parents.
Okay, good. Margallo, in relation to the late police officer, Margallo, of the Manila Police Department.
No relation, Your Honor.
No relation to Margallo, a
None,
general.
sir. None, sir.
Okay. La Cruz, Jerome. How about Jerome, coming from what?
I was born on September 27, Your Honor, and the feast day of Saint Jerome is September 30. That's why I was named Jerome.
Patron saint of what? Jerome.
Saint Jerome, Your Honor, caused the translation of the Bible into Latin. And because of the translation of the Bible into Latin, it was the translation to many other languages became possible.
I didn't know. Thank you. But do you know that Latin? Where did Latin come from? But it's considered as the dead language.
Yes, Your Honor, it was the language during the of the Roman Empire.
Roman Empire.
Yes, Your Honor, I believe so.
Why should it be called the dead language? Because there's no such origin of Latin. Because I took up Latin.
I think, Your Honor, because no one is really using Latin now for conversations, and it's no longer evolving.
All right. What's this? All right, Jerome, in your application letter, you stated that you are the only honor student in the evening block of the senior batch.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you mean to say that you are better than your peers?
I am not saying, Your Honor, that I am the smartest in our class, but I am saying, Your Honor, that I have the diligence and the capacity to work hard to maintain that honor, Your Honor.
But you stated that you are the only honor student in the evening block of senior.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your other fellow students are not honor students.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're already 30 years old. You're no longer young for a law student. Why?
Your Honor, I am enrolled in the evening program, which is designed for working students who are not necessarily, who did not necessarily go from their college to law school. So I took some time uh, in working before I went to law school, Your Honor. But I believe I have the right age, just the right age, to become a member of the Legal Education Board. I am not too young. I have sufficient experience, but I am not too old either. So I can be still at the dynamic element within the board, Your Honor.
Are you aware that there was a Bartap Natcher who waited for 1 year or 2 years to become to take his oath of office as a lawyer? He graduated less than 21 years old.
I think I heard about that, Your Honor, because admission to the bar requires 21 years of age.
And why did it take you 7 years to obtain your undergraduate degree?
At first, Your Honor, I enrolled in electrical engineering. So I pursued electrical engineering in my first 3 years of college. But apparently, engineering and mathematics did not agree with me. So I transferred to the National College of Public Administration and Governance. There, that course suited me better than engineering, Your Honor. And that is where I first encountered law because one of the required courses is administrative law. And I think I excelled in that course, administrative law, during my undergrad. And my professor then encouraged me to apply for law school. That's why I became a law student, Your Honor.
And how many years did you stay in college taking up engineering? That because you graduated from the Philippine Science High School.
Yes, Your Honor. 3 to 4 years, Your Honor.
In what school did you enroll?
In the University of the Philippines, Your Honor. College of Engineering.
College of Engineering.
Yes, Your Honor.
Nareta, I don't know whether this question has already been asked, but in your PDS, you declared that you participated in several trainings in different jurisdictions, exchange program in China, and legal camp in Thailand. With such exposure, were you able to make contributions here in the Philippines? If so, and what and how?
Yes, Your Honor. I have observed the differences and similarities between the legal system of the Philippines and Thailand and between the Philippines and China. And the way they administer their legal education system. I think that, Your Honor, that those observations can help me as a member of the Legal Education Board to introduce reforms in our education system. Such as, for example, Your Honor, we should not that we should avoid the Socratic and the case method, but maybe we should also explore other means of teaching law, especially for introductory courses, such as lectures, such as even large classrooms. They employ large classrooms in Thailand, Your Honor.
All right, the 1987 Philippine Constitution devoted an article on education. Could you enumerate the constitutional mandate on educational institutions? What
Uh,
are the constitutional obligations of an educational institution?
Your Honor, there is the obligation to provide quality education. And the next obligation, Your Honor, is to provide accessible education. These are the twin obligations when it comes to education, Your Honor, quality and accessibility.
Or rather, all education institutions shall include the study of the Constitution as part of the curriculum? You're not answering my question, Jerome. They shall also inculcate patriotism and nationalism. Please go on. Have an idea of the mandates, constitutional mandates on educational institutions?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I cannot recall the other mandates. Right.
All right, thank you. All right, what do you think is the value of the Legal Education Board to legal education? O, given na yan.
Yes, Your Honor. The Legal Education Board administers the legal education system of the country, and the primary purpose of the legal education is to produce competent and ethical lawyers. The Legal Education Board uh, supervise the law schools in the country. It also it also prescribes the minimum standards for accreditation of law schools and accredit law schools based on said standards. The Legal Education Board also prescribe the minimum qualification or standards for law school admission and for the qualification and compensation of law school faculty. The Legal Education Board also have the function of establishing a law practice internship. But as stated in the ruling in Pimentel versus LEB, this internship should not be a requirement for bar examination for bar admission because only the Supreme Court can provide for such a requirement. And finally, Your Honor, the Legal Education Board may exercise other functions necessary for the attainment of the policies and objectives of the law.
And what do you think you will contribute to the organization? Enhance legal education.
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to introduce specific reforms to the legal education system. As I mentioned a while ago, Your Honor, I would like to uh, I would like to start the development of standard modules or multimedia modules that law schools can use as a model or standard for their uh, creation of their own modules or even integrate in their own curricula. I would also like to encourage more lawyers to pursue advanced degrees in law by working with law schools in designing uh, Master of Laws programs with flexible schedule and engaging course content, among others, Your Honor. Finally, Your Honor, I would like to start a feasibility study that would uh, look at the feasibility of a scholarship program that would help uh, deserving students who would like to serve in the provinces for the poor during their practice.
All right, thank you. All right, very good. By the way, what are the objectives of the Legal Education Board as so provided in the Republic Act 7662?
Your Honor, it includes includes the preparation of lawyers for law practice. It also
Excuse me, preparation of law students rather
Yes,
than.
Your Honor.
Okay, please. Please
Yes,
continue.
Your Honor. Prepare law students and give them the sufficient knowledge to become lawyers. And it also
Okay.
involves the inculcating or instilling in law students the ethical standards or the code of conduct for that they need to exercise during their practice, Your Honor.
Rather to impart among law students a broad knowledge of the law and its various fields and of legal institutions. Likewise, to enhance their legal research abilities, to enable them to analyze, articulate, apply the law effectively. It refers to law students. That is also to prepare law students for advocacy, counseling, problem solving, and decision making. But how will you attain these objectives given that you have no experience yet about the practice of law, being a law student, still a
Yes,
law
yes.
student?
Yes, Your Honor. I think my contribution would be, as a law student, is to bring to the table of the Legal Education Board the the sentiments of the law students and how they think they could uh, participate more effectively in law school in the different programs of within the campus, Your Honor. And also, Your Honor, uh, I would like to contribute my dynamism in the legal education board by helping in maximizing and mainstreaming the use of technology to employ different learning strategies, teaching strategies in law schools, Your Honor.
And how would the law schools be able to effectively inculcate quality and responsive legal education to law students?
That is your by starting with a comprehensive course content in designing their curriculum. I think, Your Honor, that the Legal Education Board is already prescribing the basic curricula for law schools for basic legal education, but this time we need to step it up by providing a model or a standard modules for these courses.
Do you believe that there are several advantages why the Supreme Court is better off having control over legal education rather than the Department of Education or the CHED?
Your Honor, as the court said in Pimentel versus LEB, the Supreme legal education is not within the province of the Supreme Court. It is within the political branches of government, such as the executive and the legislative. However, as said in the law and as mentioned by the Supreme Court, legal education must be aligned with with requirements for bar admission.
And more practically, having identified the perennial problem of law schools in suitably preparing their students not only to hurdle bar examinations in practice of law, and you mentioned there must be an alignment approach to be implemented, beginning the law school until the bar examinations, and even in the practice of law. More importantly, the Supreme Court at the helm of legal education.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. What?
It will be better that the Legal Education Board be under the supervision of the Supreme Court.
I don't think so, Your Honor, because legal education is outside the scope of judicial functions. And while the regulation of the legal profession itself and the integrated bar, including also, in addition, the regulation of the pleading practice and procedure before the courts is within the scope of the powers of the Supreme Court. I believe that legal education, as in any field of education, should be within the within the powers of the political branches of the government.
And what are your thoughts on the proposed amendment of Republic Act number 77662, which seeks to remove law students from the representation in the Legal Education Board?
Your Honor, I disagree with that amendment because the biggest stakeholder of education is the students. The students comprise the biggest population in law schools, Your Honor, and removing a representative from the students in the legal education board uh, would not. I don't think that would result in efficient or effective administration of legal education, Your Honor.
And what do you think will be the ideal year for a law student to be a representative in the Legal Education Board for law students? Because empirical knowledge teaches us, even experience-wise, those who are applying for law students applying as representative to the law students merely come from fourth year.
Yes, Your Honor, I believe that really the senior year is the best year for a law student representative because uh, if if the law student representative is just a first year or a second year, there is even no guarantee that he or she will finish law school. And a senior student has already experienced the entirety of law schools, including the different stages of the different kinds of subjects, including the review subjects, the basic courses, and also, Your Honor, a senior student has experienced internship in for law practice as required by the curriculum.
Why not third year law student?
For example, Your Honor, in UP, third year students do not have the experience yet when it comes to internship. The Office of Legal Aid, they do not have experience in that, and third year students have no experience yet in review subjects, which are more comprehensive than the introductory courses, Your Honor.
By the way, do you know who is the law student representing the law students in the Legal Education Board now?
Yes, Your Honor. Presently, it is Commissioner Pedrosa.
Okay. And what do you think of some law professors who humiliate students who come to class unprepared?
I don't think, Your Honor, that humiliation of law students should be continued as a practice because simply because law students are future colleagues of law professors as well. And the Code of Professional Responsibility requires lawyers to to treat their colleagues with respect and the dignity that they deserve. And I think that that starts in law schools, Your Honor.
All right, my last question, Jerome. With what vegetable do you throw away the outside, cook the inside, eat the outside, and throw away the inside?
Vegetable. Uh,
You throw away the outside, cook the inside, eat the outside, and throw away the inside. That is not taught in law school.
no, Your Honor. That's really hard. Maybe upo, Your Honor.
Upo, okay. I'll take note of that answer of yours, Leila. So research on this. You have an additional assignment. Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And
Thank you.
good luck.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you, Honorable Judge Toribio E. Ilaw. Our next interviewer for this afternoon is the Honorable Justice Jose Catrell Mendoza.
Okay, thank you very much, Attorney Winnie. Good afternoon, Mr. De La Cruz,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Jerome, Joker. Okay. I have heard the questions asked of you and your answers. It appears that you read the case of Pimentel versus LEB. Now, I just have a few questions. In Pimentel versus LEB, it was written there that the state, in the exercise of its reasonable supervision and regulation over education, can only impose minimum regulation. What is your understanding of minimum regulation?
Your Honor, I understand that minimum regulation means
Yes.
the prescription of minimum standards and qualifications, Your Honor.
No, what is those minimum standards and qualifications? When do you say minimum, or is there a test to determine such such definition?
There is no strict test, Your Honor, when it comes to the minimum standards and
Yes.
qualifications.
Oh,
But I believe, Your Honor, this should start with the existence of standards and regulations. For example, Your
that
Honor.
is very general. Okay, go to specifics.
Yes, Your Honor. For example, the Legal Education Board, I believe, should require law schools to submit to them the qualifications and the criteria they use in their admission process. And when in a case-to-case basis, the Legal Education Board can give suggestions to law schools on how to improve this criteria and process. And
So only suggestions. They can give
yes, Your Honor.
only LEB can only give suggestion.
Yes, Your Honor.
They
Because
cannot supervise or regulate.
it can provide, Your Honor, that the law schools can choose from among the different listed criteria that can they use in their admission process. And if the law school only chooses one, which can be deemed insufficient as an insufficient standard for law school admission, then the Legal Education Board can require the law school to adopt additional criteria, or even if for example, if a law school really did not have a systematic admission process, then the Legal Education Board can require the PhilSat for their admission process if there is really no admission process of the law school. In addition, Your Honor,
What do you mean require the PhilSat? Can it oblige the law school to abide by the results of the PhilSat?
no, Your Honor, the Supreme Court ruled that the LEB cannot require PhilSat as a pass or fail criterion.
That's
However,
why you said you will prescribe it. You will oblige the non-performing school to abide by the PhilSat or use it as a standard.
yes, Your Honor, if the law school, when required to present its admission requirements and criteria, was not able to present any standard or systematic criteria for admission, then the LEB can prescribe the PhilSat, I think, Your Honor.
Prescribe
Only
only,
then.
suggest only,
Yes, Your Honor.
cannot impose on them.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. My earlier question uh, was about the minimum regulations because, as I have read, as written in Pimentel, the state, in the exercise of its reasonable supervision and regulation, over it can only impose minimum regulation. Now, I asked you earlier if there is a test. You said there is no test. Okay, what should be the parameters?
The parameter should be, Your Honor, that
Yes.
the first
That what can it not do? Okay, the minimum
yes, Your Honor.
regulations. What should be the parameters?
So, Your Honor, the first parameter is the requirement that the law school should have law school admission requirements. So this is the parameter, Your Honor. First parameter, that the existence of the standards adopted by the law schools themselves. And the second parameter can be, Your Honor, that the law schools should not stick only to one criterion for law school admission. The Legal Education Board can prescribe through regulation that that law schools should adopt at least two criteria for law school admission. For example, a combination of an exam and college grades or an interview, and so on, Your Honor. And I think, Your Honor, the third parameter should be the implementation of the said process and criteria. If a law school, for example, continually violates its own admission process and standards, or make arbitrary exceptions to their own policies, then the Legal Education Board can step in to correct this arbitrariness and violations of their own standards.
When I asked those questions, I was expecting you regarding the parameters. I was expecting you to recite the academic freedom, the parameters of academic freedom. Who may teach? The lab can impose minimum regulations as long as they do not uh, violate uh, the school's discretion. Who can teach? What can they teach? How it shall be taught, and who to admit. It's
Yes, Your
academic
Honor.
freedom. I was
Yes, Your Honor.
expecting to answer that because you have read Pimentel versus Lab. Now, regarding who may teach, you have taken labor law, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Suppose, a school, uh, where a school asks its students upon graduation to rate its professors, and for example, a professor uh, has been rated very low by the students because they did not learn anything from him other for reasons maybe he was always an absentee or he did not know how to impart knowledge to the students. Now, you have taken labor, no? What can you say about the security of tenure of the professor?
Yes, Your Honor. When when a professor, as you described, Your Honor,
Yes.
Committed those violations or mistakes in teaching law students, that is
I did
tantamount
not
to
say that there was a violation. The rating by the students were very low. I
yes,
did
Your
not
Honor.
mention any violation because if there is any violation, that's a ground for termination. There is no violation.
Yes, Your Honor. I
Yes.
think, Your Honor, there is gross negligence in the on the part of the employee to fulfill his duties,
If
his
he
or
is,
her duties.
if he's an absentee, Suppose he's always present, but the students claim that they did not learn anything from him. How about the security of tenure?
Then, Your Honor, the law school should follow due process in evaluating the.
Of course, you observe due process. That is in the procedure. I was asking you about the substantial right of the professor. We assume that there will be due process. You're referring to procedure.
Yes.
What did you learn in labor? There's so many cases regarding professors and schools. You remember them? You are now on your fifth year?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, I assume that you read so many cases. You are from UP, and I know they ask you to research on relevant cases. This is on labor cases regarding contracts with the school. What can you say about that?
I believe, Your Honor, that evaluation by students can be taken as a criterion for the continuance of employment of the professor, Your Honor.
Suppose it is not stated in the contract.
If it is not stated in the contract,
Yes, such criterion.
then Your Honor, there would be no ground for to defeat the security of tenure of the professor.
So despite the fact that the students never learn from him, the school must retain him because of the academic freedom who may teach.
Yes, Your Honor. The law school may choose to retain.
Anyway, it is not learned, but the problem is labor, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Except for the state schools. Is there a separate labor law for state schools? Is it the civil service or the Department of Labor? Department of Labor or civil service?
For state schools, civil service law, Your Honor.
Yes, and for private schools?
Then the labor law, Your Honor.
Labor law. Another power of the school is discretion whom to admit. Can you expound on this, whom to admit?
Yes, Your Honor. This means that schools have the freedom to prescribe their own criteria in admitting their students. Not only in admitting their students, but also who to retain as their students, based on the standards that they set. And the government.
What can be possible standard?
A possible standard, for example, Your Honor, in the University of the Philippines College of Law, students are required to maintain a QPI of 2.7 in order to maintain their presence in the college, Your Honor.
Yes. Oh.
And also, Your Honor,
you remember the Supreme Court case regarding where the right of a school to dismiss or retain a student for academic deficiency or standing was upheld. Do you remember that case?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is that case?
I cannot remember the title, Your Honor. But in that case, the Supreme Court said that schools can prescribe reasonable standards for admission and also maintenance in the school.
It's in Tangonan versus Panyo.
Thank you. Thank you.
How about can the school dismiss a student for disciplinary reasons?
Yes, Your Honor. Based on their code of conduct or ethics, a school can dismiss a student or even suspend. The Supreme Court said that the punishment or the penalty must be proportionate to the violation or the conduct.
In what
of the-
case did the Supreme Court wrote that?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I cannot recall the
You
case.
know, do not know also. Ateneo de Manila versus Court of Appeals. Also the same as in Angeles versus Season. How about if the student committed it outside the campus?
Committed the violation, Your Honor.
Yes, yes.
Your Honor, it may still be sanctioned by the school, even if it is committed outside the campus.
Even if it is not school related,
Yes, Your Honor.
you read
this-
the case of Angeles versus Season. It should be school related. Oh, anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Jerome Joker. That will be all. I heard your answers earlier. So I have no further questions.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Your excuse.
Thank you,
Okay.
Justice Mendoza. Thank you, Mr. Jerome de la Cruz. Our next applicant for this afternoon to be interviewed is Mr. William Christian de la Cruz, a student of law in the Father Saturnino Union University. And he is also the Chief of Staff of Councilor Glenn Karampatana of Panglungsod, Butuan. Mr. De La Cruz.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes po, good afternoon. Our first interviewer for this afternoon is Honorable Judge Franklin J. de Monteverde, the regular member representing the Integrated Bar of the Philippines.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Queenie. Yeah, good afternoon, William Christian de la Cruz.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
How are you called? William or Bill?
Will or Yam, Your Honor.
Will.
Yes, Your Honor.
Will, okay. You are 24 years old, no?
Yes, Your Honor.
Much younger than the two others who preceded you. And unlike the two of them, you have not been endorsed or recommended by somebody. So what made you decide to apply for this position, and how did you prepare for it?
What made me decide, Your Honor, to apply for this position is there's this project that I want to continue implementing. During my term as Secretary General of the Association of Law Students of the Philippines National, I spearheaded the project National. It's National Legal Literacy Program. We were supposed to bring the law to the Department of Education. We were to craft modules for learners in the alternative learning system. And since my term ended last July 31, and somebody had to assume my post as Interim Secretary General, I had to turn over the continuity of the project to the next set of officers, Your Honor. And so I thought that this opportunity to be part of the Legal Education Board would allow me to have more people, to draw more people and more resources into realizing that project of bringing the law to the margins of society, to the people in the Department of Education, people in secondary, people in elementary. We want to simplify and teach them the law. And as to the
Okay, aside from that
Yes.
project, what other educational programs did you spearhead? And as assistant, was that as chief of staff rather of counselor? I don't know what his name. I forgot.
Karampatana, Your Honor.
Were
The
there
projects
other
I
programs
spearheaded, Your
aside
Honor.
from the?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ah.
Yes, Your Honor. There are other programs in literacy, but insofar as my position in the office in the local government, and I also maximized my being Secretary General of ALSP, and second, my position in the College of Law as Council President. Recently, I handled 3 programs, Your Honor. First, the one mentioned earlier, the National Legal Aid Program, still in partnership with the local government. Second, and most recently, we conducted the so-called Legal Education Online. I dubbed the project Balaod Webinar, Broadening Access to Law for All Through Online Distance Education. I tapped the IBP, Luzon del Norte, the DepEd Butuan City, the SK Federation, and the ALSP. And we conducted public legal orientations. We invited lawyers from the IBP to do lectures and made the lectures accessible to the public, especially the youth, the OSY, and the adult learners. And third, Your Honors, last April, at the height of the pandemic, the ECQ, I spearheaded a project called Online Legal Aid Program for Butuan City. Since our current dean of the law school is the IBP president, and the city legal officer of Butuan is also my professor in law school, I asked them if we could have an online legal aid program in which we can answer queries of people because they have so many questions about the quarantine, the ECQ. And so that project was spearheaded by myself and the officers of the College of Law with IBP lawyers, Your Honor. And prior to the COVID period, we went to different barangays to bring the law. It was called Legal Education on Wheels. So it became
Try to
online
talk
now.
slowly. Probably yung reception magiging okay.
Okay, Your Honor.
So those were the consideration that you thought you had when
Yes, Your
you
Honor.
decide to apply for this position.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are 24 years old, as I said. In what year are you now, the law school?
I'm currently a 4th-year student, Your Honor.
Will, can you hear me?
Hello, Your Honor. I can hear you. I'm currently a 4th-year student, Your Honor.
Will, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor. I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay. In what year are you now?
I'm currently a 4th-year law student, Your Honor.
4th year.
Yes, Your Honor.
When are you expected to graduate?
I'm expected to graduate.
Yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
When are you expected to graduate?
Perhaps in July, Your Honor.
When?
July, Your Honor, this year.
July of this
Yes, Your
this
Honor.
year?
Yes, Your Honor.
So the 2 others the 2 others before you, they are your classmates?
No, Your Honor.
Hindi ka sa UP, ano? Okay.
No, Your Honor. I'm
So
from
tatlo
one
kayo
city,
will
Your
be
Honor.
graduating
Mindanao.
this July. And that gives you only a few months before any appointments can be issued. And are you aware that only those students can be appointed as representative of the students sector?
Yes, Your Honor. I am
Are you aware of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
So probably when appointments will be issued in August, so you're no longer a student. You're out of the question now, just like the 2 others who preceded you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, sometime in January of 2019, the LEB issued resolution number 2019-406, which states that the basic law degrees, whether Bachelor of Laws or Juris Doctor, earned from law school recognized or supervised by the LEB and its predecessor regulatory agency shall be considered as equivalent to doctoral degrees in other non-law academic disciplines for purposes of appointment, employment, ranking, and compensation. However, the Commission on Higher Education views with serious concern this resolution. When Chairperson Prosper de Vera III issued or said that the grant of authority or equivalency to non-law academic disciplines of degree programs, in this case, basic law degrees, are within the powers and authority of the Commission. Is Chairperson de Vera correct?
He is not entirely correct, Your Honor. I think that the
Why?
power to, Your Honor, because currently there are different issuances regarding the treatment of the Bachelor of Laws degree and the Juris Doctor degree, Your Honor. According to the Civil Service Commission, if you have an LLB degree and you did not pass the bar examinations, you're considered a master's degree holder. According to CHED, if you graduated with an LLB, hello, Your Honor, can you hear me now? Your Honor, can you hear me?
Yeah, now, clearly.
Yes, Your Honor. As I mentioned, Your Honor,
I can hear you clearly.
According to the Civil Service
But can you
Commission,
hear me?
Yes, Your Honor, I can hear you.
No?
Yes, I can hear you, Your Honor.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
According to the Civil Service Commission, Your Honor, if you have an LLB, you are considered a master's degree holder even if you did not pass the bar exam. According to CHED, if you have an LLB, you have to pass the bar exam to be able to be considered a master's degree holder. Therefore, in status quo, there are certain regulations differently issued by different agencies about the treatment of the LLB. Therefore, Your Honor, even if the Supreme Court already ruled in Pimentel versus Legal Education Board that the Legal Education Board has jurisdiction over legal education, it is my position that the treatment of the equivalency of a JD to a PhD is a matter that must be discussed by the CHED, the LEB, and the Civil Service Commission because it affects all other entities in government, Your Honor. Plus, it is ironic for the Legal Education Board to treat a JD as a PhD because previously, before the Supreme Court ruled in Pimentel, they wanted the professors of law to have Master of Laws degree and Doctorate of Law degree. But you already have them considering it as a PhD. And also, Your Honor, it is not the terminal degree in law. You have the Master of Laws and you have the Doctor of Civil Law or Doctor of Juridical Science. So in short, it's my position that they should sit down with LEB, CHED, and the Civil Service regarding the equivalency, Your Honor.
So at this point, you are still not sure whether Chairperson De Vera was correct
Your Honor, CHED De Vera is not
in issuing that statement.
He's not correct, Your Honor, in saying that it is CHED who has the authority to determine.
Will, did you?
Your Honor,
Do you hear me?
yes, Your Honor, I can hear you.
Yes.
Your Honor, despite the powers conferred to CHED by virtue of RA 7722, Your Honor, in 1994, I think CHED De Vera is not correct in saying that it is CHED who has the power to set the equivalency. It has the power insofar as HEIs are concerned, but all others, Your Honor, because this is all encompassing, it does not only cover the colleges and universities. Therefore, CHED does not enjoy the exclusive authority to rule on the equivalency, but instead LEB, CHED, and the Civil Service Commission, Your Honor.
But let's go specifically to this statement or this resolution number 2019-406 when it speaks of LLB or JD to be equivalent to doctoral degrees, to which Chairperson De Vera has a serious concern because according to him, the basic law degrees are within the powers and authority of the commission. Now, is Chairperson De Vera correct in saying this?
I have mentioned, Your Honor, he is not correct entirely. He's only correct insofar as the HEI is concerned, Your Honor. The equivalency will only be the CHED or Prospero De Vera is correct insofar as the equivalency concerns higher education institutions.
Yeah.
Insofar as you will
That's
use...
my question.
Yes, Your Honor. Insofar as you will use the degree...
Question. You stop talking because you become choppy when you talk fast. Okay?
Okay, Your Honor.
Sige. So what is your philosophy of legal education, Will?
My philosophy, Your Honor, for legal education is that legal education is not only aimed at producing lawyers who are practice ready, but in the process, legal education should produce law students who serve while they learn the law. My philosophy, therefore, is inspired by a legal education that allows students to serve while they learn.
Okay, what pedagogic methodology of teaching law will you espouse? Will it be the Socratic method or the case method?
My pedagogical approach, Your Honor, would be, I think, both the Socratic method and the case method. And I think there's one more, the application, Your Honor.
Medyo choppy ka, choppy.
What about now, Your Honor? Can you hear me?
Now, I can hear you clearly. Sige, continue, Will.
As I was saying earlier, Your Honor, my pedagogical philosophy is the Socratic method, and it's coupled with application, Your Honor, of the legal principles. Hello, Your Honor.
Napuputol yung ano mo, yung sinasabi.
What about now, Your Honor?
Ngayon. Pero when answering questions, napuputol.
As I've said, Your Honor, the Socratic method coupled with application, Your Honor,
Okay,
application,
okay.
Your Honor, of the cases and real life situations.
Sige, let's go to another question. As a policy for legal education, would you encourage the outcome-based education?
Yes, Your Honor. I encourage the outcomes-based education. Yes, Your Honor. I encourage the outcomes-based education, Your Honor, in support of the Supreme Court's promulgation of the revised law student practice rule to have lawyers who are practice ready, Your Honor.
Now, okay. What is your concept of academic freedom? And what are its parameters?
My concept of academic freedom, Your Honor, this was discussed in Pimentel versus Legal Education Board. There are three things to consider: the academic freedom of the institution, the academic freedom of the student, and the academic freedom of the faculty. My view, Your Honor, similar.
Let's go first to the student.
Yes, Your Honor. To the student, Your Honor, the academic freedom on the part of the student is considered, Your Honor, as a cognate of the freedom of expression, meaning the student has the freedom to express his thoughts in intellectual liberty within the academe, Your Honor, subject to, of course, limitations such as the clear and present danger rule. Hello, Your Honor.
Judge De Monteverde, can you hear us?
Yes.
Attorney.
Yes. Napuputol yun. napuputol yung mga sinasabi ni Con eh.
Attorney Michelle, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. De La Cruz. Judge, medyo nagpa-fluctuate po ata ang inyong network bandwidth. Nagpa-fluctuate po
Attorney-
yung signal po sa inyo,
Attorney
Judge.
Michelle ba ito o Attorney Queenie?
Attorney Michelle po, Judge.
Ay, Attorney Michelle, oh. Hindi ko naririnig si Con eh. Si Will.
Opo,
Napuputol yung kanya, yung sinasabi.
nagpa-fluctuate po,
Katulad
Judge. I
ng
think
tayo
yung
ngayon,
signal.
napuputol din. Baka it's either mine or dyan sa inyo may difference.
Opo, dito po nakikita natin medyo nagpa-fluctuate po ata yung signal niyo, Judge.
Ang sa akin?
Opo, Judge.
Wala naman.
But we can hear him, di ba, Michelle? Very
Yes
clear
po.
si Judge.
Very clear naman po kayo, Judge.
Yung reception lang ni Judge.
Yun. Pero si Con ang hindi ko na eh.
Oo nga, yung reception ni
Oo.
Judge. Pero very
Si
clear.
Will ang hindi ko na naririnig na maigi dahil napuputol. Oo.
Ano kaya yun
napuputol
na-
yung mga sagot niya.
Oh. Siguro, if he will speak slowly.
Yun nga sinabi, biniro ko siya dahil medyo mabilis salita.
Although reception kumaganda.
Sige, anyway, I have an idea now what he will be if ever he will be appointed. He only has a few months before he graduates. And Will, as I said earlier, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor, I can hear you. Yes, Your Honor.
Magsalita ng mahina.
Yes.
Huwag mabilis.
Yes, Your Honor, I can hear you.
Ha?
The
Okay.
reception siguro.
Okay na. Yung one of the reforms na one of the powers of the Legal Education Board is to adopt a system of continuing legal education. This is in conflict, di ba, with the mandatory continuing legal education of the Supreme Court. Now, assuming that you will be appointed and assuming that at that time of the appointment you are still a student, what would you do? What would you propose to do in so far as this provision of the as this power of the board is concerned?
Your Honor, the
Would
Supreme
you
Court has
still
already
continue
ruled, Your Honor.
with it? Sige, go ahead.
No,
Sige,
Your
go ahead.
Honor,
That would be
I
my
will
last
not
question.
No, Your Honor, I will not continue with the implementation because the Supreme Court has already ruled in Pimentel versus Legal Education Board that the implementation, the provision in the LEB law mandating what was that, Your Honor? Was beyond was contrary to the powers of the Supreme Court, Your Honor, under Article 8, Section 5, Paragraph 5, to promulgate rules concerning pleading, practice, and procedure, Your Honor. So the MCLE is something that cannot be imposed by the Legal Education Board, but by the Supreme Court, Your Honor.
Judge De Monteverde, can you hear us po?
Yes. I'm here. I'm still waiting for the picture of Will's face to move.
Can you?
Ngayon po, nakikita niyo na po si Mr. De La Cruz.
Ngayon. Pero habang nagsasalita siya, napuputol at nagiging steady.
Opo, medyo nag-freeze din po kayo sa amin, Judge.
Ganun ba? So ganito na lang. In order not to waste time and in order for the other members na to have a lengthy questioning sa kay Will, I will end my questioning lang sa kanya. So that will be all na lang for Will.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Honorable Judge Franklin J. De Monteverde. I think we're having technical issues din po. Nag-freeze po kayo sa amin.
Oh, ganun din yung kay kay Will. Nag-freeze din siya
Yes po.
habang nagsasalita.
Opo. Your Honor, if I may introduce the next regular member of the JBC to interview Mr. De La Cruz, we have Honorable Justice Noel Jimenez Tiham, the representative for the Academe.
Thank you, Attorney Queenie. Good afternoon, Mr. De La Cruz.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Can you hear me, Your Honor?
Yes, I can. I think the
Thank you, Your
internet
Honor.
providers are aware that we have been interviewing applicants continuously. Probably they want us to stop. I will just make my questions very, very brief, okay? Because I have listened to your answers. You are graduating this year. You will probably take the bar in November.
Yes, Your
And
Honor.
you will wait for the results by early next year. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
So if you are appointed to the LEB, will you forgo with your review for the bar exams?
If I were to be appointed to the Legal Education Board, Your Honor, provided I'm still qualified, I will not forgo with the bar examinations, Your Honor, because in that case,
how can you perform your work for the Education Board?
I take my answer, Your Honor, from the experience of Commissioner Kathy Pedrosa. She was also working for the Legal Education Board and at the same time reviewing for the 2019 bar examinations, and she passed the bar exams. And we were able to work together for ALSP and LEB, and the projects were successful, Your Honor. Her having to review notwithstanding.
In your opinion, are grades important in legal education?
For me, Your Honor, grades are important for you to be able to graduate from law school. But I think, and grades are a measure also of the level of hard work that you put in to your education. But I think that your grades are not the ultimate measure, and it's not that reliable measure, Your Honor, because as I would like to quote the separate opinion of Justice Leonen in Pimentel, he said that we have different starting points. Some people are not privileged to have quality education from high school. Some have the privilege to have good education. And so the grades, Your Honor, that you have in law school do not necessarily reflect the quality, your quality as an individual, Your Honor.
He was talking of evaluation of a student after law school.
Yes, Your Honor.
As far as the law professor is concerned,
as far as
the students are concerned, grades are really important. Now, you
yes,
said
Your Honor,
that grades are not the only reliable. What other things or measures or standards are more reliable than grades?
Your Honor, for example, Your Honor, grades are a measure of your scores in examinations, in oral recitations, but in here, Your Honor, in my university, since we integrate clinical legal education in most of our subjects, the other measure for to gauge your ability to understand the concepts is in applying the concepts, Your Honor. When you get to help and assist lawyers in doing their work and in implementing programs on the grassroots, Your Honor. We're also gauged through that.
Yes, but there are other ways of grading competency, but ultimately you have to give a grade.
Yes,
correct?
Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Correct, Your Honor.
Graded academically inside the law school. You might also a law student may also be graded outside of the law school in legal aid clinics. But the
yes, Your
bottom
Honor.
line is you are graded. Correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's why grades are important in legal education. Do you agree with the observation that a higher grade shows industry and dedication, and that a lower grade shows indolence or laziness?
Not necessarily, Your Honor, because there are cases when you get a low grade, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're lazy. Because there's times, Your Honor, when, since I am exposed in an environment where a lot of students are working, there are times when you enter a classroom, take the exam without having reviewed because you have a job to do. And these are the limitations that prevent certain people from acing their examinations, their recitations, but they're doing their best, Your Honor, in the process. There are just certain limitations.
I asked the same question with the other applicants. In your opinion, should students be allowed to grade their own professors?
Your Honors, I think the students should be allowed to grade because here, Your Honor, in my university, after every semester, we have to fill out an evaluation form so that the administration can assess the performance of the faculty member, Your Honor.
What's the difference, William, between academic freedom and academic obligation? Is there such a phrase as academic obligation?
I have not read such a phrase, Your Honor, academic
You have not
obligation.
heard about it? Is it
In the-
non-existent?
Your Honor, come
If
again, Your Honor.
you have not read about academic obligation, does it suggest that it is non-existent?
No, Your Honor, it does not mean that it is non-existent. Academic obligation is, I think, it comes with academic freedom, Your Honor, because academic freedom, no, on the part of the faculty, the students, or the school, on who to admit, who can teach, what to teach, or how it may be taught, these are subject to an academic obligation, Your Honor, of equity and justice and the common good. Because academic freedom is not also absolute, it is subject to certain limitations, Your Honor.
Now, what I'm saying is when law professors enter the school, when law students enter the school, they have academic freedom, but at the same time, they have academic obligations. So can you tell me in your own opinion, in your own words, what are the academic obligations of the school, the academic obligation of the law professors, and the academic obligation of the students?
Your Honor, as to the institution, the academic obligation of the institution is insofar as maintaining the academic freedom of the faculty and the students is concerned, the obligation, the academic obligation of the institution is to maintain a learning climate in the academe that allows people, the students and the faculty, to exercise intellectual liberty and freedom in discourse and in the sharing of ideas unhampered, Your Honor. As regards the faculty also has the academic freedom for intellectual liberty and discourse, but comes with it the obligation, Your Honor, to teach the students and to impose in class and to tell the students that this freedom or these exchanges are still subject to certain limitations. And for the students, to the academic freedom to express, Your Honor, comes with an obligation also.
To be more specific, the academic obligation of schools is to provide good facilities for learning, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Libraries,
Yes, Your Honor.
other tools or instruments to help the students. The obligation of law professors is to be present at all times during classes and not to be absent. Do you agree with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And to teach the students properly and correctly and not merely to conduct recitations. Because when law professors conduct recitations, that shows that they are not prepared to teach the students. And the academic obligation of students is to attend classes. So do you agree with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you agree with that? So there should be more academic obligations rather than academic freedom.
Yes, Your Honor.
We can uplift the legal education. Do you agree with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
What about ethics? Is it important that law school should produce ethical lawyers rather than competent lawyers?
I think both, Your Honor. You should be competent and ethical lawyers because the goal of legal education to be able to improve the administration of justice is to produce lawyers who are ethical, Your Honor,
But how
and
come the
competent.
ethics is only 5% in the bar exams?
I think, Your Honor, there was a suggestion during the Legal Education Summit to increase the weight that is given to legal ethics in the bar examination so as to encourage or to the students to dwell more and the faculty to teach more on that area, Your Honor.
I'll ask you a practical question. When a law student enters law school, he studies, he graduates, is he prepared to practice law inside the courtroom?
No, Your Honor, he is not ready under status quo, Your Honor. He is not ready to practice
Does
law.
that reflect failure on the part of legal education to prepare lawyers to be able to practice and handle cases outside of school?
Yes, Your Honor, it is my position that there is a failure of legal education, which is why, Your Honor, the Supreme Court's promulgation of the revised law student practice rule is a corrective measure to be able to improve and raise the standards in quality in legal education so as to produce practice-ready lawyers, Your Honor.
What subjects do you think, new subjects, new in the sense that they're not yet customarily included in the curriculum, should be included in law course inside the courtroom?
Inside the courtroom. I think, Your Honor,
inside the school.
Mm-mm.
What law subjects or courses do you think should be included as part of the curriculum of the school?
I think, Your Honor, there's a need to include as a subject practical exercises, Your Honor, in which the student can really get to apply, can get to handle. I'm basing my answer, Your Honor, on the Rule 1388 Certification 1. If we apply that, if we have a course, you have practical exercises in which your students can interview a client, can ask a client, can really draft affidavits with close supervision, I think that can improve the quality of legal education. Practical exercises, Your Honor.
How is the subject of practice court implemented in your school?
Practice court, Your Honor, based on my experience, since I'm just a fourth-year student right now, my experience is since it's online learning, Your Honor, we don't get to go to the margins, unlike before that we get to interview. Yes, Your Honor.
What was the mechanics for practice court?
For practice court, Your Honor, they get to assist. They get to assist the lawyers, Your Honor, in handling their cases. But the students do not really play a major role, Your Honor, which is why I'm happy now with this Rule 1388 revision that the students are really empowered to participate and to learn more, because you can't learn if they will just tell you to do this and that, and you can't really, absorb or embrace the concepts as they are in reality.
When we were RTC judges in the 1990s, at least in my court, law students who were assigned to my court for observation, practice court, I requested them to dress appropriately like lawyers and to attend the hearing the next day just to assist beside the designated lawyer for a particular case, so that they will have the feel of the courtroom, inside the courtroom. That is actual practice court. They have no speaking part during the hearing, but they just sit beside. They wear barong or a coat and a tie, so that they have a feeling of what a court proceedings really are. Now, my last question is, what are the important problems for students in legal education, and what reforms or measures will you suggest to the Legal Education Board if you are appointed to that board?
the main problem I see, Your Honor, as part of the Association of Law Students, especially during the pandemic, is that seems to be a disconnect between the students and the faculty. I think the schools have to revisit their grievance mechanisms. Like, for example, there are issues in the classroom in terms with the instructor, for example. Then the students are having a hard time to communicate with their professor, and this law school also, some of the students I talked to with ALSP are having a hard time raising their concerns to the faculty or even to their dean, Your Honor. So I think it is high time for the Legal Education Board to be a consultative body and to have rules which will mandate law schools to really establish mechanisms by which students can communicate and have discourse with faculty, with the dean, for example. I'm blessed, Your Honor, to be in an environment wherein I can talk to the dean, to the faculty, but that is not the case in the other law schools in the NCR, for example, Your Honor, which we talked to before.
How do you address complaints for sexual harassment against law professors?
Based on my experience, Your Honor, we've just handled one. The process, Your Honor, involved. I've had an experience about that, Your Honor. There's a complaint against the professor, and we handled it, Your Honor. The student, since I was the president of the College of Law, the student wrote the dean first, since we already have a handbook on how to handle that in the university. The student concerned wrote the dean, and then the dean wrote the VP for Academic Affairs, and then the VP ACAD and the HR, Your Honor, organized a panel to investigate on the matter, and they called the respondent, and then the complaining party, the complainant, Your Honor, and then they were able to talk about the matter, and I think there were sanctions imposed on the respondent.
And regardless of the severity, the gravity of the charges of sexual harassment, what measures do you adopt to prevent a repetition of the same offense?
I think, Your Honor, to prevent the repetition of these offenses is you must have a law school dean who regularly monitors the classrooms, Your Honor, to be able to ensure that the law professors conduct themselves in the appropriate manner, and that there is no such a case as sexual harassment that will happen. That's one solution I can think of, Your Honor. When you have a dean who's so hands-on that he or she checks on the classroom every day, Your Honor, during the classes.
Are you in favor of installing CCTVs inside the classroom?
Yes, Your Honor, I am in favor of installing CCTVs. However, the same should only be accessible to the dean and the Vice President for Academic Affairs, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor, Honorable Justice Noel Menes-Liham. Our next interviewer would be Honorable Judge Toribio E. Ilao Jr.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Attorney Queenie. Yes, good afternoon.
Your Honor, can you hear me, Your Honor?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you, Your Honor.
How about you? Do you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor, I can hear
And
you.
have you seen me also?
Yes, Your Honor.
Clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
No problem.
No problem, Your Honor.
Okay. William Christian Pagulong. What's Pagulong? De la Cruz.
From Surigao, Your Honor, and De La Cruz from Davao.
Surigao, Pagulong. But you know you're staying in what place? At Butuan?
Yes, Your Honor. Butuan.
Butuan speaks what Cebuano is speaking also?
Yes, Your
Cebuano
Honor.
speaking.
Yes, Your Honor. But some areas, Your Honor, still speak the Butuanon language. Few barangays.
So different from Cebuano?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Entirely different, but I don't speak the language, Your Honor.
Okay. Alright, William, teach me. What's this Father Saturnino Urios? Who's Father Saturnino Urios?
Father Saturnino Urios, Your Honor, is the
Curioso, yes, sir.
Apostle of Agusan del Norte. He is the founder of the university.
Founder of the university. What
Your Honor.
religious order? Secular or
SJ, Your Honor, Jesuit. He was a Jesuit.
Mm. And university was founded when?
In 1901, Your Honor.
1901.
Previously, Your Honor, it was called Urios College. Now it's FSUU.
You obtained your Bachelor of Science in Political Science in that university. Wow. Summa cum laude.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's the Spanish term for summa cum laude?
I only know the English, Your Honor, with highest honors. I don't know the Spanish.
The Spanish is sobresaliente.
Sobresaliente. Thank
That
you,
is
Your Honor.
The only legal humanities who
Sobresaliente.
obtained that degree was then Rafael Recto at UST. Alright, you started with your application later stating that you initiated 3 programs on education in your local government unit. You mentioned the 3 and specific steps you took. First, what's this legal education on wheels? It's patterned after Justice on Wheels.
Your Honor, yes, Your Honor. Legal education on wheels started in November 2019, Your Honor. What happens there is we gather a pool of lawyers and law students, the IBP, the College of Law, and officers from the LGU Legal Office, and DepEd and the SK. Then we go to a barangay, Your Honor, and then we teach the students in the alternative learning system, the out-of-school youth, the adult learners, Your Honor, about basic legal literacy, Your Honor. It's like a public legal orientation conducted by lawyers from IBP, assisted by law students, Your Honor.
And the second one's online legal education, dubbed as Balaod.
Yes,
Is there
Your Honor.
any particular meaning of Balaod aside from such initials broadening access to law or through online distance education?
We call it Butuan's virtual law classroom for all, Your Honor.
Good. And lastly is the online legal aid program.
Yes, Your Honor.
All of which were in partnership with Department of Education, Butuan City, and the Urian Legal Assistance Program.
Yes, Your Honor.
As well as Integrated Bar of the Philippines, Agusan del Norte. And concluding that you were able to provide legal literacy classes and legal aid services among the underserved sectors of Butuan City.
Yes, Your
Congratulations.
Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
But as a student, how would you rate yourself as a law student?
My rating, Your Honor, if the scale would be 1 to 5, I would be rating myself with 4, Your Honor.
Why 4? Why not at 5?
4.
Make it 5.
Not 5, Your Honor, because it's 4 because the 4 rating, Your Honor, only allows me to maintain my grades for my 2 scholarships. 5 is just too high a rating, Your Honor. 4 just allows, it's okay with me to just be able to maintain the scholarships, Your Honor. So it's 4.
Presently, you are the Chief of Staff of Councilor Glenn Karampatama.
Yes, Your Honor.
And do I understand that Glenn Karampatana is also a lawyer?
Yes, Your Honor.
A graduate of what school?
He graduated from the University of San Carlos, Your Honor. He was a bar top-notcher.
Bar top-notcher?
Yes, Your Honor, in 2010.
What place?
10th place, Your Honor. 10th place.
If appointed, do you think you would serve better in the Legal Education Board rather than in Butuan City?
I think, Your Honor, yes, Your Honor, because I think I have served Butuan City, Your Honor, and I think it is high time for me to go into a national scope, Your Honor. And as I've said earlier to Judge Monteverde, to continue the program, because I wanted, Your Honor, to convert the programs of the local government of Butuan into national programs, Your Honor, where law students around the country can help.
Are you comfortable in leaving Butuan City if and when you're nominated and appointed as a member of the Legal Education Board representing the law students?
Yes, Your Honor.
By the way, what is the vision of the Legal Education Board?
The vision of the Legal Education Board, Your Honor, as embodied in the law creating the Legal Education Board 7662, it is to produce lawyers who are problem solvers, lawyers for leadership, decision making, and lawyers who contribute in the administration of justice, Your Honor. That's the objective of legal education.
Do you think the Legal Education Board adds value to the legal education?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe that the Legal Education Board adds value to legal education because, as was upheld by the Supreme Court, the powers of the Legal Education Board to prescribe minimum qualifications or standards of accreditation, Your Honor, to ensure that law schools provide quality legal education to the students, Your Honor. So it adds something.
Do you think that law schools greatly contribute to a student's professional identity?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe that the law schools contribute to the professional identity of the person because the law school, Your Honor, sets the learning climate and the learning environment where the student is exposed. For 4 years, Your Honor, you become what the law school has exposed you to.
All right, to enhance legal education in the country, the Legal Education Board was created by Republic Act number 7662 in 1993. It's already antiquated, and some quarters had subscribed or suggested that such law should be amended, that a new law will be passed and approved by Congress, considering that the powers and functions of the Legal Education Board mostly involve periodic and not daily tasks, which had been accomplished by the Legal Education Board today, while the others were struck down as unconstitutional.
Yes, Your Honor.
That is in the case of Pimentel and Liel. Legal education, however, will not be a standstill. The continuous enhancement of legal education deserves serious attention. Since the practice of law, which is the end result of legal education, is imbued with public interest. Don't you think there is such a need for examination of the law
I
to
think
answer the problems besetting the country with respect to legal education?
Yes, Your Honor. I think there's a need for us to re-examine the law creating the Legal Education Board, especially that, as you have mentioned, Your Honor, several provisions were declared by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional, like the MCLE, the educating the members of the legal profession and the needs of the marginalized, and on the internship requirement. I think, Your Honor, the law should incorporate programs that will incentivize rather than dictate, Your Honor. For example, on the part of the faculty, they can incorporate in the law, Your Honor, budget to incentivize rather than punish, to incentivize the faculty to upgrade, offer scholarships for the faculty, for them to upgrade their learning rather than compel them and dictate them to upgrade. And for the students, Your Honor, to provide opportunities for externship, like what CHED is doing, Your Honor, to provide opportunities for externship, for internship, Your Honor, that will allow the students to enhance their learning.
And how would law schools be able to effectively inculcate quality and responsive legal education to law students? What are the specific steps that would you undertake if and when you're nominated and appointed to the Legal Education Board?
If I were appointed in the Legal Education Board, Your Honor, to answer your question on how to ensure that law schools offer quality legal education, the LEB, Your Honor, the Legal Education Board, should do more in terms of visiting the law schools, Your Honor. In going into the law schools, LEB should be more consultative, and not just consultative with the faculty and the administration, Your Honor, but consultative with the students, because the law students are a major stakeholder in legal education. So I think that's one thing, Your Honor, of enabling LEB to be more responsive and in making sure that the law schools provide quality education, legal education.
All right, taking into consideration the landmark decision of the Honorable Supreme Court in Oscar V. Pimentel et al. Versus Legal Education Board, Republic Act number 7662, and the findings of the Legal Education Summit's National Consultative Workshops. By the way, you stated likewise in your application letter that you had been selected to attend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you able to attend at the Manila Hotel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't you think it's imperative to consolidate and harmonize all this to the extent possible in the light of developments in education sector and the legal profession to fully develop legal education in country? That's the reason why there's a need for the amendment of the law or to harmonize it.
Yes, Your Honor.
And will you also agree that the legal education will be better off under the helm of the Supreme Court rather than the CHED or the Department of Education?
No, Your Honor, because as was ruled in Pimentel, the Supreme Court was already categorical in saying that legal education is an executive function, which means that it is best reserved to the political departments, the executive, Your Honor, as was ruled in Pimentel, because it is not, as was ruled in Pimentel, it is not the business of the Supreme Court to implement and to check into legal education. Although, Your Honor, I would like to point out that there is a good opinion from Justice Hismundo in his separate opinion. He said that you can't really separate the roles of the Supreme Court and the Legal Education Board because the Supreme Court sets the requirements for the bar examinations. Therefore, the rules of the Supreme Court will ultimately affect how we shape legal education. Therefore, to me, Your Honor, while I answer that LEB should remain and that legal education should be an executive function, I think, Your Honor, there should be regular talks between the Supreme Court. There should be liaison officers, Your Honor, between the Supreme Court and the Legal Education Board so as to harmonize the policies. Because, for example, like the internship, Your Honor, the clinical legal education, in the law that was declared unconstitutional, LEB was empowered to require internship for the bar exam, but the Supreme Court said that's an encroachment of our power. But what happened now, Your Honor, there's a program. The program, Your Honor, is CLEP training program. It's a program of LEB, and it's supported by the Supreme Court and PALS, meaning, Your Honor, there already is harmony and there already is good relations and implementation between the Supreme Court and Legal Education Board. And my example, Your Honor, is the CLEP training program, which I attended last Monday. It's a 5-week training program.
Because as enumerated by Justice Alex Gesmundo in his dissenting opinion, he stated that the study of law is affected one way or another by the court's rule-making power.
Yes, Your
Do you
Honor.
agree with it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Absolutely, the court has the exclusive power, referring to the Supreme Court, exclusive power to promulgate rules for admission to the practice of law. Thus, the court prescribes a specific subject that a law school must offer before each student can be admitted for the bar. And even before the student begins his study of the law, the Supreme Court already provides the requirements for his or her pre-law studies.
Yes, Your Honor.
So therefore, it's the controlling authority to take over legal education as well. Perhaps law schools are better directed, according to Justice Desmundo, law schools are better directed and able to better prepare their students for the bar examination. You go along with that opinion of
Yes.
Justice.
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you also agree that a new law will be encompassing that of suggesting the abolition of the Legal Education Board into just a legal education office under the control and supervision of the Supreme Court?
As I've said earlier, Your Honor, my position was that in Pimentel, since it's an executive function, it really has to be a separate entity, Your Honor, from the Supreme Court, since it's an executive function, as was ruled.
It will be replaced by and as I said, the Legal Education Office, which shall be under the Supreme Court, considering the inevitable relationship of legal education, admission to the bar, and the practice of law. The Legal Education Office shall have general jurisdiction and control over all matters relating to legal education and shall supervise, regulate, and exercise its powers in accordance with the provision of law and the supervision of the Supreme Court. And there's likewise a suggestion that the composition of the legal education office shall be only for a chairperson and two members who shall preferably be former justices of the Supreme Court or Court of Appeals, and academicians or law school deans for at least 10 years. By this time to be appointed by the Supreme Court in Bank. What's your thought on this?
My thought, Your Honor, earlier, Your Honor, I answered to you and I said that I will have liaison officers. I think, Your Honor, having heard that proposal from you, I think that's better. That's a better proposal than what I said earlier. Having liaison officer, putting it directly with the Supreme Court is also, I think, a better proposal. Provided, Your Honor, as you've said, there are still the personnel who will really perform the executive functions, Your Honor, of the Legal Education Board. Because as I've said, yes, Your Honor.
Yes, please continue, sorry.
Because as I've said earlier, Your Honor, I am also the opinion of Justice Esmundo that the Supreme Court's rules affects legal education is also noteworthy, Your Honor, and something that should be considered also by Congress, the Pimentel decision notwithstanding.
Right. All right. Which of the Legal Education Board functions you could contribute in?
The function, Your Honor, of the Legal Education Board that I can contribute.
And when you're nominated and appointed, sorry.
Your Honor. The function of the Legal Education Board that I can contribute in, Your Honor, is, of course, first in the supervision of law schools in terms of the needs of the law students. And second, Your Honor, on the power of the Legal Education Board to the objective earlier to have law students who can contribute to the administration of justice and the promotion of social justice, Your Honor. I think those are the areas that I can contribute, especially that I am exposed to CLEP and to going to the margins and the peripheries, Your Honor.
All right, let's go also to some of the perennial problems in law schools. It's about the demeanor of law professors. What do you think of some law professors who use discourteous language in the classroom?
I think, Your Honor, professors who use discourteous language or in discourteous in their manner, Your Honor, must be uh, reprimanded by the dean and in proper setting, Your Honor, because I know that the faculty members are also mature enough and are already knowledgeable enough to conduct themselves in the class. So the proper way is if the student has a complaint about the teacher, it must be addressed in writing to the dean, Your Honor.
And what do you think of some law professors who neglect teaching because of their other engagements or law practice?
Uh, Teachers, Your Honor, who are very busy with their private practice or with their jobs, Your Honor, I think it depends, Your Honor, because here, for example, in my school, but that's not the case anymore now. But before, if teachers were very busy with their practice and there's no other teacher, the law school is left with no choice but to keep that teacher. But now, since you have many lawyers already, and many can teach law and are qualified, what the law school does is if the teacher cannot conduct a class because he or she is busy, by the next semester, Your Honor, the law school will do something to perhaps replace that faculty member, Your Honor. If the faculty member will admit to not being able to handle the class anymore and not being able to teach the law the way it should be taught.
Right, my last question. What's your nickname again? William?
Will, Your Honor.
Oh, Will. Okay. All right. Listen carefully. All right.
Yes,
A
Your
man
Honor.
and a dog were going down the street. The man rode, yet walked. What was the dog's name?
I did not get it, Your Honor.
A man and a dog were going down the street. A man and a dog. The man rode, yet walked. What was the dog's name?
A man?
A man.
A man, Your Honor.
A woman. And a dog.
The name is Aman.
All right. The man rode, yet walked. Sumakay yung lalaki.
Yet walk.
Our time is up. It's already 20 seconds. William, Will,
Sorry, Your Honor.
I don't know the answer. Not even a guess.
I think the name is Aman. I'm not sure, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Roderick.
Roderick.
You know about Roderick. Remember the actor Roderick. But you're much better than Roderick because you graduated summa cum laude. Right. Thank you for your time, Will, and
Thank you,
good
Your
luck to your
Honor.
journey.
Thank you, Your
And
Honor.
regards to sa lugar nyo, sa mga tiga-Butuan. It's a nice place. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Honorable Judge Toribio Ilaw, Jr. Our last interviewer for this afternoon would be the Honorable Justice Jose Catrell Mendoza, the representative for the retired justices of the Supreme Court.
Good afternoon, Mr. William Christian De La Cruz.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Okay. Oh, I have heard the questions asked of you and your answers. So I'll just my questions will just be limited. First of all, this is not in connection with the Legal Education Board. This school, Father Saturnino Urius University, is in Butuan.
Yes, Your Honor.
It is run by the Jesuits.
Yes, Your Honor.
I see. It's College of Law because I googled your university.
Mm.
How when was it founded or opened? The College of Law.
The College of Law, Your Honor, in 1996.
1996. Oh. For the past 10 years, how did it fare in the bar?
I think the law school fared well in the bar, Your Honor, because it was recognized by the Legal Education Board as one of the top performing law schools in terms of the less than 50 population.
I see. Have you have top notchers from
No.
Since 1996?
No, Your Honor.
No. Oh. You have prominent practitioners from the school?
One professor, Your Honor, my boss, he is a top notcher, as was mentioned earlier, and most of our teachers are RTC judges, MTC judges, city prosecutor, and from the public attorney's office, Your Honor.
Yes. But you're not from Butuan, right?
I'm from Butuan, Your Honor. It's my parents who are not from Butuan.
You are from Butuan. So
Yes, Your Honor.
you knew Ambassador Piñeres?
No, Your Honor.
You never met him when
I never met him, Your Honor.
He's from Butuan.
I did not meet him, unfortunately, Your Honor.
Okay. The decision of Pimentel versus the Legal Education Board was promulgated September 2019. There are so many motions for reconsideration. Up to now, they have not yet been resolved. You've studied them. I presume you also studied the different opinions of the other justices. Anyway, the decision is not yet final. Do you totally agree with the decision? It's not yet final. Do you totally agree with the decision? Before that, there are two aspects which were considered constitutional. 4 were provisions of the law were considered or the PhilSat considered unconstitutional, and others were considered as unconstitutional for being ultra vires. And then there were opinions of other justices. Do you totally agree with the decision?
No, Your Honor.
Even the justices cannot make up their minds. It's more than a year. Okay. Can you give me your opinion and what aspect?
I will qualify, Your Honor. As to the 4 provisions, Your Honor, declared unconstitutional, the MCLE informing the members of the legal profession about the needs of the poor, and the legal internship, I'm supportive of the Pimentel decision. Those are really an encroachment of the power of the Supreme Court under the Constitution. But on the next part, Your Honor, the 2 things declared ultra vires, the declaration of the PhilSat the requirement of a 55% passing rate was also declared ultra vires, as in violation of the academic freedom of the institutions. And the second is on the requirement of the faculty. I agree, Your Honor, that the PhilSat is a valid exercise of police power. My opinion, Your Honor, I'd like to rephrase my answer. I subscribe to the separate opinion, Your Honor, of Justice Hesmundo insofar as who will implement the PhilSat, Your Honor, because he said that it should not be the Legal Education Board that should conduct the PhilSat, but like the US, it should be the Association of Law Schools. So in that aspect, Your Honor, I think I have to subscribe to the opinion of Justice Gesmundo in having the PhilSat administered by the Philippine Association of Law Schools.
It was not carried in the main decision. His
Your Honor.
personal opinion.
No, Your Honor, because what the main decision said, Your Honor, is that the main decision said that PhilSat is a valid exercise of police power, but what was wrong and ultra vires is when you have LEB dictating a 55% passing rate, thereby depriving the law schools of their academic freedom, Your Honor.
Would be conducted by the law schools.
Yes, Your Honor. Not the state.
Not the state.
And yes, Your Honor. And by extension, Your Honor, I'd like to adopt part of the opinion of Justice Leone, not entirely, because his second opinion was to abolish entirely the LEB and to declare the entire law unconstitutional. I'd like to adopt the part where he said that, because he said that it's high time for the court to overturn like the Tablarin decision on the NMAT. I would subscribe to that, Your Honor, that the state should not be administering in support of part of the opinion of Justice Sesmundo, Your Honor.
Do you agree with Justice Leonen that Tablarin should be overturned?
Insofar as to harmonize, Your Honor, because if I were to agree with Justice Hesmundo that it should be the private sector, the Philippine Association of Law Schools, to administer the PhilSat, then logically and harmoniously it would follow that I will also adopt part of the opinion of Justice Leonen insofar as state-sponsored examinations are concerned, Your Honor.
So you find the NMAT unconstitutional?
Yes, Your Honor.
On what ground?
The NMAT, Your Honor, in the case of Tablarin versus Gutierrez.
Tablarin, yes.
Your Honor. The Supreme Court said
it was upheld constitutional.
Yes,
but
Your
you
Honor.
have a different opinion?
Yes, Your Honor. Because I wanted to support the idea that the PhilSat will be administered by the PAL, so it's the private sector and no longer the LEB or the state. So consistent with that, Your Honor, the Tablarin decision said that the NMAT is a valid exercise of police power because the state can guarantee and save the citizens from the incompetence of those who will treat our bodies.
So
that is correct, Your Honor.
You want the private sector?
Yes, Your Honor.
But are you saying that it is unconstitutional, the NMAT?
No, Your Honor. The administration.
No.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
okay.
Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Because you said you want to do away with that, with the NMAT being administered by the state.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because under the Constitution, the state has duties and obligations regarding education.
Yes, Your Honor.
What are the duties and obligations of the state regarding education?
Regarding education, Your Honor, of course, first, the right to quality education, but more importantly, the state shall exercise reasonable supervision and regulation of educational institutions, Your Honor.
So how do you measure quality education without this examination? Do you have any alternative suggestion?
I would like to clarify, Your Honor, earlier.
Yes,
my position is we still have NMAT, but it's not the state that will administer, but the Association of Medical Schools, Your Honor.
Is that not an abdication of the state's duty or obligation?
No, Your Honor, because the state can still prescribe, even in the opinion of Justice Sesmundo, Your Honor, that it will be the Association of Law Schools who will administer the PhilSat. It's not an abrogation of the state's duty because the state, through the Legal Education Board, can still prescribe minimum qualifications, Your Honor, to ensure that schools have standards or manuals of procedure in their admission process, Your Honor.
Okay. Where else do you disagree?
I
What
think those are
aspect of
the
the decision?
I think those are the only aspects, Your Honor.
Oh, you regarding those declared as constitutional, do you agree? Do you not agree?
I agree, Your Honor, but I think it's broad. The first two enumeration, constitutional first power of LEB was the power to set minimum qualifications and accreditation for admission to the study of law. And second is to prescribe the minimum qualifications of the faculty members without infringing upon the academic freedom of the institution. I agree with this, Your Honor.
Okay. In Pimentel, it
But-
was written that the state, in the exercise of its reasonable supervision and regulation over education, can only impose minimum regulation. What is your understanding of the minimum regulation? Is there a test to determine that? What are the
Test to determine minimum regulation, Your Honor, as was
Yes.
mentioned in
yes,
the
imposed?
decision, Your Honor.
You says the state can only impose minimum regulation.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is your understanding of this minimum regulation?
Based on my understanding of the main decision in Pimentel, Your Honor, when the Supreme Court already explained the part on when minimum regulation is valid, it cited Tablarine and White Light Corporation on the valid exercise of police power, that there must be lawful subject and then lawful means, and there must be reasonable connection between the policy or the regulation and the objective that is sought to be accomplished, Your Honor. Those were, I think, to the best of my recollection, the parameters set in that decision. Your
What
Honor.
are they? What are its limitations, or what can it not transgress?
The limitations, Your Honor.
Minimum regulations. This was not clearly defined. Now,
Yes,
what
Your
is your
Honor.
understanding of that? So you will, do you think by that decision the powers of the LSAT has been emasculated? It's powerless to regulate the schools regarding admission. Do you
Can I-
agree? It has been
can I-
emasculated,
Your Honor.
the power of the LEB
No, Your
by
Honor.
that decision.
No, Your Honor, because what the Constitution really provides is just reasonable supervision. And I think the lab has exceeded that. But I'd like to go back, Your Honor, to the previous point earlier. I think it's really not clear in Pimentel. Like, for example, in the faculty, Supreme Court said that it's reasonable to impose Master of Laws. However, it was the manner, like the year, the period. So it's really not clear, Your Honor, as to how the parameters will really be implemented. The example is on the faculty requirement in the PhilSat.
Yes. But you cannot, can you impose regulations regarding the faculty?
Based on the decision, Your Honor, it mentioned that to require the faculty to have a Master of Laws, it's good. However, to dictate the law schools and to compel the faculty within a limited period, like I think 4 school years, so that 100% of the faculty will have LLM, and the dean is, I think, too short a time, Your Honor.
You do not agree with the LEB on that point.
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, Your Honor, if I may add, there was a mention in the decision that it's ironic for the Legal Education Board to consider JD as a PhD, and then you require your professors to have LLM, BCL, or GST, although it's for purposes of appointment in non-law degrees.
Can that be cured by legislation? can you do it by legislation? If you do it, for example, it's not a leb circular, but a legislation. Is that constitutional?
I think yes, Your Honor, it's constitutional because there's another case. I just can't recall the title, but it involved the UST, Your Honor. The UST, it's about the faculty, the requirement of master's degree in teaching colleges and universities. The Supreme Court upheld the requirement and said that UST and the faculty members are in pari delicto because they allowed the faculty to teach without masters. So basing on that premise, Your Honor, that decision, I believe that the state, through legislation, can come up with measures like what DEX did, Your Honor, previously for higher education, can impose requirements minimum for the faculty, Your Honor.
Okay. You're not from UP, but have you heard about the case, the controversy about the Secretary of National Defense unilaterally terminating its agreement with UP? What is your take on that?
Yes, Your Honor, I heard it, Your Honor, because my father is from the AFP and he keeps on watching about it on YouTube. So I would hear him watch the video. My position, Your Honor, is we would ask, what is the objective of Lorenzana in abrogating the accord unilaterally? In the press con, Your Honor.
I will be direct. Is it a violation of the academic freedom of the institution?
No, Your Honor. There must be balancing of interest, Your Honor. In fact, Your Honor,
there is no violation.
There is no violation, Your Honor. In fact, Your Honor, Domingo Cayosa, the president of the IVP, said that in the agreement itself, nowhere in the agreement shall prevent the enforcement of the laws of the land, Your Honor. So meaning, we have to balance the interest. Chairperson, Your Honor, Prospero de Vera also said that. He even commented, I think, on yesterday, he made a post and he said that the accord was destined to fail in terms of implementation. His comment was, now as former vice president and chairman of the Board of Regents, he said that the committee assigned to implement the accord did not meet regularly, Your Honor. That was just his opinion. And I think they really have to sit down on that. As of now, it's premature to say that it is a violation of academic freedom.
Okay. What is your view on the contract of a student with school?
Your Honor, the contract.
Yes.
The contract.
What is the nature of the contract?
The contract.
You're already in the fourth year?
Yes, Your Honor.
Fourth year. Oh, you must know that case.
Yes, Your Honor. This is the case of CBSA. I forgot the case, Your Honor, but it involved the College of Business Administration of a particular university. And the contract between the school and the student, it is impressed with public interest, Your Honor.
And so,
since that is the case, Your Honor, the school exercises special parental authority as regards the students in the academia, Your Honor.
the case is Isabelo versus Perpetual Health.
Okay, that's a different.
Said that it is the contract is imbued with public interest, so it is not an ordinary contract.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, no, you remember that case? What else was stated there?
But Your Honor, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
It being not an ordinary contract, it is imbued with public interest. What else was stated there?
I would like to clarify, Your Honor. I said that the contract is imbued with public interest, but the Isabelo case is not the one I read, Your Honor. It was a different case.
Oh, I see.
So I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Oh. Is the enrollment of a student to semester contract?
Your Honor, is the enrollment
of a student a semester to semester contract, or it's a contract up to his graduation?
per semester, Your Honor, because for example, Your Honor, in the case of Garcia versus School of Theology, although it's not exactly the case, it's a different set of facts. But in that case, Your Honor, Epicaris Garcia wanted readmission in the master's degree of the Loyola School of Theology, but the faculty said that there are certain academic requirements or that the student did not meet, and therefore they said that the student should enroll in UST or in other schools. The Supreme Court upheld the academic freedom of the Loyola School of Theology on who to admit, Your Honor. So my answer, therefore, to your question is yes.
That's
The
Ateneo
contract is per
versus Court of
semester,
Appeals.
Your
No,
Honor.
it's not semester to semester. Read the case of Isabelo versus Perpetual Health. It's
Yes,
an
we will.
old case, actually, 1993. Oh,
Thank you, Your Honor.
you read that case. I know the case that you cited. That's the Ateneo versus Court of Appeals case. Oh, do you remember the Tangonan versus Panyo case?
No, Your Honor.
You remember that? You have not come across it.
I cannot recall, Your Honor. I just reviewed, Garcia, Tablarin, and what
Ah.
else?
Your school is a Jesuit run school, right?
Father Urios is a Jesuit, Your Honor, but the school is run by the Diocese of Butuan City.
I see. Oh. The name of the father is, of the priest is, the
Paternino
priest is a
Urios.
Jesuit only.
Yes,
but
Your Honor.
It's not run by the Jesuit.
Yes, Your
What
Honor. I
book
would like to
did you use?
clarify.
What book did you use in constitutional law?
In constitutional law, Your Honor, I used the book of Isagani Cruz, but our professor recommended that we use the book of Miriam Santiago, so I also had to purchase it. But I read the book of
the
Cruz.
Jesuit Father Bernas.
I have his book, Your Honor, not the green
Yes.
one. I just borrowed from the library, the green one. But I have the question and answer book,
Oh, I see. I have that
the reviewer,
also. But,
2011.
yes. You read also the case of Tangonan versus Panyo. It's mentioned in the book of Father Bernas regarding the right of a school to dismiss a student for academic deficiency. How about the right of a school to take disciplinary action against students for out-of-campus activities?
I think there's also
Have you read that case?
no, Your Honor, I have not read the case, but when I read the
Angeles
dissenting,
versus Season. Angeles versus, that's Angeles.
Your Honor, I
Now
came
you
across
remember?
the previous case, Your Honor, the regulation of this discipline outside the school. I read through that, Your Honor, in the dissenting opinion of Justice Leone. It was cited, but just short, briefly,
Oh,
just the doctrine.
what was it stated?
What was stated, Your Honor, was that even if the student is already, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, Your Honor, if the student is outside the school, still subject to the academic standards and the rules of behavior of the academic institution, Your Honor.
As long as there are school-related activities.
Yes, Your Honor, for school-related activities
Yes.
to qualify.
Earlier you mentioned, I was listening to it, you proposed a grievance committee
Yes, Your Honor.
or a grievance body. How can the legal education board regulate that? Because it's between the student and the school. Can the legal education board regulate that?
I think, Your Honor, the Legal Education Board can regulate by requiring the schools to submit reports, repertorial documents, Your Honor, as regards the manner or the results of the grievance procedure, Your Honor.
Is that within the powers of the legal education board? Or you went to have that power when you are already a member?
No, Your Honor. It's no, Your Honor. Just to not to substitute, Your Honor, the judgment of the law school, but just to for repertorial purposes, Your Honor, and perhaps to open it for discussion with the law schools, but not necessarily to substitute their judgment.
there is a pending bill in Congress amending the Legal Education Board law. Now, as it is now, it appears parang helpless or weak. What do you propose to how can it be strengthened?
The Legal Education Board, Your Honor, as
Yes,
was asked
yes.
earlier, Your Honor, by
Aside from it being under the Supreme Court.
to strengthen the Legal Education Board, Your Honor.
Yes.
I think one thing, Your Honor, that I've
No,
seen
it
in
is
the
under the Supreme Court. So,
yes, Your Honor.
but no one will
Yes, Your Honor.
no one will question the
Yes, Your
rationality
Honor.
of each issuance.
Yes,
But
Your Honor.
aside from that, how can
I
it
think,
be
Your Honor,
strengthened?
to strengthen, Your Honor, one problem raised by the Legal Education Board I heard is on it being attached in status quo, Your Honor, for budgetary and administrative budget. It's attached to the Commission on Higher Education. They're having a problem in terms of their staff, etc., Your Honor, because they still have to undergo the long process with CHED for the approval. So I think one of the reform, Your Honor, my proposal, Your Honor, is to really have, if the Legal Education Board were to be part of the Supreme Court, then it should, for budgetary and admin purposes, should no longer be part of CHED, Your Honor. It must have its own budget, Your Honor, for me, for admin purposes. For it
Suppose
to
it will not
effectively
be placed
discharge.
under the Supreme Court. The levy will not be placed under the Supreme Court.
If the levy, Your Honor, will
Yeah.
not be placed under the Supreme Court,
What is your recommendation as to its financial needs?
my recommendation, Your Honor, if the leb were to be removed, if the leb will not be part of the Supreme Court, my recommendation based on the current law, Your Honor, is to not include the budget, not attach it for budgetary purposes and admin purposes to another agency like the CHED, Your Honor. So the proposal is to have its own budget, Your Honor, for leb.
Independently of the
Yes,
CHED.
Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
I see. Earlier, because you could Judge de Monteverde could not hear you. You were answering the method of teaching. First, you mentioned case method, Socratic method, and what was the third?
The third one, Your Honor,
Yes,
is in line with the Rule 138A, the revision, the application, Your Honor, of these cases.
Can you explain on that? Because Judge de Monteverde could not hear you earlier.
My explanation, Your Honor, is, for example, in FSUU, in our College of Law, most of our subjects have clinical legal education programs. For example, basic legal ethics, and other courses, Your Honor, like practice court, etc. So my suggestion, Your Honor, is that aside from the theory, aside from the cases, like in legal ethics, aside from the cases, aside from the Socratic method, the students should be trained in the drafting. For example, this should be incorporated, Your Honor, in the CLEP subjects. The drafting of affidavits, expose them to real cases involving legal ethics, Your Honor, to make them practice ready in the future. Of course, in compliance with the rules of court.
Can the lab impose that without transgressing the academic freedom of the school?
No, Your Honor, because as was ruled in Pimentel, the provision in RA 7662, in which lab can create or require an internship program as a requirement for the bar exam, was declared unconstitutional for infringing upon the powers of the Supreme Court under Article 8 of the Constitution.
Tell the schools to use only the Socratic method.
Your Honor.
Yeah, the lab can not also dictate the method.
No, Your Honor, because as a manifestation of academic freedom, Your Honor, on how it may be taught, the lessons, Your Honor.
The lab cannot intrude on that.
No, Your Honor, but they can prescribe.
Okay, recently, the Legal Education Board issued Memorandum Order number 23, series of 2020. It issued guidelines for the integration of the clinical legal education in the basic law curriculum. What is your opinion on this?
I think, Your Honor, that is
Have you
not.
read it?
No, Your Honor, I have not read it, but I attended recently, Your Honor, the CLEP training program.
Yes. Oh.
The CLEP training program was spearheaded by the Legal Education Board with the support of PALS and the Supreme Court, Your Honor. I think, Your Honor, the LEB has the power to integrate because the Supreme Court already made it a requirement for the bar examination. So LEB is only confined to prescribing the academic, the
So
academic part of the curriculum.
This is just implementing what the Supreme Court prescribed.
Yes, Your Honor, a reiteration, I must say.
So it must be, ideally, the LEB, you agree that the LEB should be really under the Supreme Court.
Yes, Your Honor, in my previous answer.
Okay. Well, that will be all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor, for your time.
You are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Just wondering why you do not know Ambassador Roy Señeres.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Thank you, Honorable Justice Jose Catrell Mendoza. That concludes our public panel interview for this afternoon and for the day. Mr. De La Cruz, you are excused.